Welcome to the Stacey Salyer Show, the podcast for property management leaders ready to think bigger about growth. I'm Stacey Salyer, and the only acquisition strategist in this industry who sat on all sides of the M&A table. I've been the buyer, acquiring a 370-door competitor during COVID using seller financing. I've been the seller, building and exiting a 7-figure business. And I've been the corporate evaluator as director of acquisitions, assessing over hundreds of companies nationally. That means I know exactly what you're thinking, what you're missing, and what actually works when it comes to buying and integrating in this space. On this show, we dig into acquisitions as a real business tool, not luck, not someday. You'll learn positioning, strategy, numbers, and integration from someone who's actually done it all. Let's go. Welcome back, my friends, to the Stacey Salyer Show, where we talk about buying and selling property management companies. And today I have a guest on my show who owns a large property management company in Southern California, RentSource. And we are going to be talking today about the different businesses that he's purchased and the adventures that entails and the different strategies that he uses, as well as his mindset around running his team. It's a little bit different than probably your average business owner. So I'd like to welcome Kevin Patterson to my show. Welcome.
Good morning, Stacey.
Good morning. So do you want to give us a little bit of a rundown of maybe how you got into property management, how long you've been doing it, maybe kind of your general location and all that?
Yes, we were in the Southern California area. I got into property management because I was one of the largest REO agents during the crash. Mm-hmm. And so I was actually working 7 days a week, literally probably realistically 18 to 20 hours a day, just because we were doing so many REOs. I think I was selling well into 30 to 40 REOs a month. On top of that, we were doing hundreds of BPOs every single month. And honestly, I did that for a few years and just got really burned out. What started in the property management business is when I very first got my real estate license. The broker that I worked under, he had a big 65-foot yacht down in Marina Del Rey, and we'd always go out there. And I'd let him know that one day I wanted to be a broker, have my own office. He was in his late 70s at the time. And he would always tell me that the property management is where all the money's at. He would always tell me property management is the meat and potatoes. And he had gone, obviously, he's one of the original 7 Century 21 owners, our franchisees. And he still had a Century 21 franchise at the time. And he would always say that, like, through the ups and downs of real estate, the one consistency and the one thing that kept him alive and the reason he was still around was because he had a property management arm that actually paid all the bills. Mm-hmm. So the real estate sales from the agents was kind of his profit margins, where the property management company paid all the bills through the good times and the bad times. So it always kind of really stuck with me. And as I became an REO agent and was doing a lot of business, one of the things I was always struggling with is because I was constantly selling to investors, was sending them out to property management companies. Well, they would call me back pissed off because every single time I'd send them to a property management company, they didn't like the way they were doing business. So in 2012, I wound up just getting my broker's license. In 2014, I made the decision to open up my property management company. So in 2014, I was making well into $1 million a year in actual gross closed commissions, which was unheard of, really. I mean, there wasn't a lot of people doing it during that market, but because I was such a large REO broker, I was able to do that. So what I did was I actually worked in the property management business and I became an accidental property management company, really, out of necessity for my investors that I was selling REOs to. I knew absolutely nothing about property management. Created a spreadsheet, charged them $50 a month, and that was that. I mean, I literally just collected rent. If there was any maintenance issue, I called the owners. We didn't have VAs or anything like that, but I just called the owner like, hey, here's the issue. If we did any extra, once in a while I would, but not much. One of the things I found about the property management company was there was a lot of really good things. There was a lot of things I was good at, but where I was good at was I was good at getting the clients. I was horrible as a property manager. Okay. So I learned really, really fast. I was probably the worst property manager out there. And so that kind of became my journey over the next 3 years. For 3 years, I did sales continuously. I did not take a single dollar from my property management company. And every dollar I made, I hired somebody. I hired somebody that I wasn't good for, right?
Okay.
So bookkeeping, being an actual property manager, dealing with complaints. I'm good at dealing with complaints. I'm not good at the actual day-to-day property management aspect of it. So even to this day, my employees will tell you that without them, they are the key. Really, all I'm good at is the connection part. So
Okay. So 2014, you opened your PMC. Did you already have a real estate brokerage, like a sales brokerage?
no, no.
Oh, okay. So
I
you
was
just
under,
opened everything.
yeah, I was under Remax at the time because
Okay.
I left Century 21. When the market crashed, I actually wound up leaving Century 21 because I had better access to REO accounts through the Remax
Hmm.
franchise.
Yeah.
So that's why I left to Remax. And I did not have a broker's license. The broker's license came into play when all my investors were telling me that they needed a property management company. So I always remembered that conversation in the back of my head that I had with my old broker at the time. And I basically made my broker at the Remax an offer. They actually wound up partnering with me in the very, very beginning. Within 6 months, they dissolved the partnership. They didn't like the feel of property management. They owned a handful of Remax offices and then also some escrow and some lending offices. So
Hmm.
they didn't like the fact that the property management kind of in state of California exposed them and all the other businesses to any errors that we might have. And I honestly, again, it was literally trial and error, or what I like to call R&D, rip off and duplicate, because that was all I was able to do. I knew nothing about property management. I knew everything
Oh,
about sales.
okay. So you opened with a spreadsheet. Did you open with a handful of clients or how
Yeah,
did?
no, I had a full list. I mean, again, I was closing 25, 30 deals a month. So every single deal I was closing with investors, people weren't buying homes really for themselves at that point. Very few. And they weren't beating out the investors. So that's the other problem that I had is I had a very good investor catalog. So I reached out to all of them and I was like, hey, $50 a house, manage it for you. And every single one of them jumped on board. And I will say this, that I think I still have well over 100 of those original guys,
Wow,
which
that's
is,
awesome. Are you still only charging them $50 a month though?
no, not these days.
Yeah. I was gonna
Price of
say.
business has gone up slightly. Sometimes I feel not as much though. Not so.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So you open yourself a spreadsheet, used all your income from that to build a team. So you and I met through NARPM or probably some Facebook group way back because I know those started to get really big in like 2017, 18. When did you kind of get more serious about property management? Because I mean, it is such a complicated business and litigious, especially on the West Coast. When
I
did you
think
join
about 3 years into it, I started to really realize this is kind of a direction I wanted to go. I remember deciding after 3 years that I was going to take my first paycheck in the business. And at the time, there's another company in our area, just south of our area, where I was able to capture three of their employees. And I wasn't trying to get their employees. I think there might have been like a fallout with one of the
NARPM?
managers in their company at the time. And so made their employees an offer that they didn't say no to. And so once I had those three employees who were very, very seasoned employees, I felt very, very comfortable because really what I got was a bookkeeper who's still with me. I got an operations manager who wasn't an operations manager at the time. She was a property manager. And then I had gotten another property manager. So I got two property managers and a bookkeeper. And that actually changed the trajectory of my business and like how serious I kind of took with it because their skill set and their knowledge and that they had in the business was way greater than mine.
Right.
So it was kind of at that point where we'd moved over to Appfolio at that
Okay.
time. They knew Appfolio. I didn't. I barely knew Appfolio. We moved over to Appfolio. We were on Buildium originally. Like we went
Mhm.
from spreadsheet to Buildium.
Okay.
In my opinion, Buildium is a great little stepping stone. And
Hmm.
if I was ever to plug a company, like they've always been really, really good for the first time, in my opinion.
Hmm. Yeah.
Very, very
Yeah.
small,
Yeah.
boutique
Yeah.
management
Yeah.
companies.
Hmm.
Um, and so they did a lot. We went to Appfolio, and it was kind of at that point where I decided like I'm going to slow down on sales because again, I mean, even at this time, I think this was probably 2016, 2017, probably 2017. My phone, my ringtone on my phones used to be able to change the ringtones. I don't know if you can anymore. I don't even turn my ringer on. But it used to be like the sound of like a cashier. If you remember the old school, like
Oh yeah.
ching, ching,
Chewing,
because every
yeah.
time my phone rang, like honestly, that was just my sales
Money.
gig was
Yeah.
like, yeah, phone's ringing, it's the sound of money, right?
Yep.
And yeah, so it was kind of at that point where in 2017 where I decided to really start to fall off. And in the 2017, 2018 era is kind of when the REOs really started to fade.
Mm-hmm.
So it allowed me like a little bit of breathing room. And I think because I worked so hard from in those time frames that I just got truly burnt out. I felt like I was at the pinnacle of real estate sales. Teams weren't really a big thing outside of like Keller Williams. So I didn't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily have a team back then.
Wow.
So, everything I was doing was myself. And then I had an assistant and someone who did all my paperwork because one of the things, again, back to knowing what you're good at, what you're bad at. Paperwork was something I've always been bad at.
Mm-hmm.
Communication with people, like getting the sale, closing the deal, that's my forte.
Right.
So,
Okay. Okay, cool. So you've got a real team, you've got a real platform. It's 2017 or whatever. You've got several hundred doors under management?
yeah, at the time, I think we're about 250 to 300 doors.
Okay. Okay, which is a good sized company.
And, and,
So,
and actually, when I acquired those agents from that other company, I actually, at that point, was the point of where I started to scale because that actually opened up my second office at that point
okay. Okay. I was going to ask about that. So where was your first office? Is that
in Palmdale.
in Palmdale? Okay. So
That's
if
still
you're
where our corporate office is even today. So northern LA County, we cover LA County, Kern County from that office, and some parts of San Bernardino, but not much anymore.
okay. So you have that one office and then you decide now you have team platform, you're moving forward, you're going to open a second office. Is that?
Yeah, yeah. So when I acquired those other three employees,
Mhm.
obviously bringing on three employees at one time was something pretty big. So what I wound up doing was they were able to bring over, they had some clients with them that they brought over with us. So
Mhm.
we pushed into a secondary market, which was our Santa Clarita market. And actually our third largest market at this point. It's not our second largest anymore. But we took into the Santa Clarita market. And I mean, that market's a good market, but I would say it's about a 150-degree difference from where you are in the Antelope Valley market. The Antelope Valley market's a very military market, but a very also high Section 8 market.
Mm.
So we
Okay.
did a lot of Section 8. Where my Santa Clarita office, I think we have to this day, we just finally got our very first Section 8 tenant about maybe a year ago.
Okay. And
We
that's
have
kind of more A class properties?
more A-class properties, yeah.
Okay.
Where,
Okay.
where Antelope Valley is anywhere from, say, an A to a C class. It's all the way across the board.
Okay. Okay. So what year did you do your first acquisition, like buying a book of business? Because I know we've talked offline a little bit
Yeah.
and there's stock
So
purchase and then there's a book of business, which you've only done like the books of business, not buying the company, right?
correct, yeah. We don't buy the actual companies because
Hmm.
otherwise we take on the anything bad per the DRE in the state of
Hmm.
California. You buy the corporation, you get the good and the bad, so it's easier for us just to buy the paper. We made our first purchase, I think, during right 2022.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, was our actual very first purchase of a bigger, larger company. Well, larger in the sense that it had 250 doors.
Okay. That's good.
And that was in our Barstow office. And it's kind of interesting because no one would ever think that that market is a good rental market because it's probably by far one of the least expensive places in the state of California to live. So at the
Mm,
time, I mean, I still had, when I bought it, there was rentals that were renting for $400 and $500 a month in 22.
wow.
Where in any of my other markets, we were in that $16 to $3,000 a month range.
Right.
Now, come back to the $50 management fee. When I
Right.
purchased that place, most of it was $50. They did do Appfolio. They did have Appfolio, but it
Okay.
wasn't very good. They didn't keep good tracks, didn't have a good track record. But
Okay.
that's part of the reason we wound up picking it up. I find that to be a lot of why people sell is they start to get in trouble
Right.
and to get overwhelmed. And then they
Yeah.
won't, no, they just don't want to deal with the headache anymore. So that was an interesting purchase because the property management company had been established for, I think, around like 30 years.
Mm,
So it had been established for a very long time, and they were the 800-pound gorilla in the area. So by us taking it, we also became like the 800-pound gorilla,
okay.
which and to this day, it's been a good market for us. It's a profitable market for us, right? It's not a big like numbers market as far as like rents and things of that nature, or the price per door. You don't get that is probably one of the markets that suppress us a little bit from like overall having the average price per door, average being higher would be that market, but it's a good market.
Okay. Okay. So that was your first acquisition. What
That was my first.
do you have a specific strategy that you use as far as acquiring? Because you've done 3 total,
Yeah,
right?
done 3. No, I don't really necessarily have a specific strategy. Everything's kind of come to us. That one, I think had come to us from a referral from a friend that was interested. Actually, the broker, that company reached out to us because we were playing in a triangle, and to understand where we're at in northern LA County, we kind of reached up into Kern County to Tehachapi, which is Kern County, and it's like southeast of Bakersfield. Bakersfield's a huge market. And you have Bakersfield, Los Angeles, Orange County, San Diego, kind of how it would go. If you're looking at California from like central to southern, and we were in the LA County, Ventura County, playing in Ventura County, and parts of LA, Kern, and Ventura. We were playing in parts of Kern because Kern's one of the largest counties in California. It's more centralized. But that kind of threw us into the Barstow area because if you look on a map, there's an interesting triangle across Highway 58. If you're not familiar with the area, anyone that's gone from Southern California to Vegas, it would be familiar. But
Okay. That area. Okay.
yeah, because you do pass Barstow's kind of one of those like pit stops. If you're from
Mhm.
LA on your way to Vegas, everyone stops at Barstow or Baker. Those are the 2 stops outside of that. Next stop is Vegas. So they're not areas where you would think a lot of people would live, but there's a lot of people there. They're building a lot of stuff out there too. They're building a casino. They're also putting one of the largest rail Union trains. I think it's Union BNSF, building a huge hub out there. So I think it's going to be the largest hub in the nation is what they're one of doing. So they're processing that right now. So, but as far as again, how did I get them or how got any of them? All referral based. They've all been referred.
Okay. Okay. So just by like in the market, like somebody's like, oh, hey, you should go talk to this person. That
Yeah,
kind of
or the brokers call us.
okay. The actual broker, the owner broker.
Yeah.
Okay. Because they weren't listed for sale.
2 of the 3, yes, correct. 2 of the 3, they've called us because we're in the area. So
Okay.
the third one, I was turned on to, and which is my most recent one, I was turned on to through a company that does a lot of purchasing of property management companies. It just didn't fit it didn't fit their box, and they knew we're in the area, so they reached out to me, and we made it work.
Yeah. No, that's cool. So do you mind kind of walking us through maybe your first acquisition? What, like hindsight, it's always 2020. Is there something you would have done different?
Yeah, my first one, absolutely. This is kind of the advice I give to a lot of people. I got burned a little bit on my first one because when you buy a property management company and you have several hundred doors, you don't go through every single contract. You just kind of look at what Appfolio says and what the
Yep.
bank account says. And then what we did is we took 10 contracts and then just compared them. We just took a sample.
Okay.
Where we got burned is security deposits.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we got burned on security deposits because yes, what was in Appfolio was what was in the bank.
Okay.
However, what was in Appfolio did not match the contract.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that got us on about 7 or 8 of them that we were able to catch after we realized it when we were a year down the road, 2 years down the road, and a tenant moves out and we're looking at what they have written in Appfolio. We look at what's in the bank and we look at the contract and realize the contract says 2 times the amount of rent. So just for instance, if it was $1,000, they have $2,000 deposit. However, Appfolio says $1,000 deposit. Bank says it's $1,000 deposit. So I wound up writing some checks for about an additional. I think when it was all said and done, I think we lost like 12 or 13,000 bucks that we kind of ate.
Okay.
But that is the one advice, and I don't necessarily know that there's really a way outside of going through every single contract or getting a stopple on every single contract. But if you want to take the time, you're more than welcome to. I think for us, it would just be a bigger sample.
Right.
We just run a 10% sample versus just like a 2% sample.
Right. Yeah. Because 10 out of what, 200, 250
Yeah.
isn't that, I mean, that's not that many, but
No, we could have done a better job at sampling, but when we got past the 10 and didn't see any errors,
right.
we didn't necessarily think about it, but luck of the draw. With that being said, I think The other big thing, and I've noticed this on every single one,
Mm-hmm.
is that when change happens with an owner, if
Mm-hmm.
they're on the fence at all,
Mm-hmm.
that change is going to happen when you purchase a property management company.
Right.
No matter what you do to try to save the deal, you can offer them free management for 6 months. Doesn't matter, right? I'm not, and I don't suggest anyone doing that, but they're going to change.
Right. Okay. So do you find, I mean, do you track like your churn rate per acquisition, or do you feel like yours is high?
I don't know that mine's higher than most, but we did track it on all three,
Hmm.
and it stayed fairly consistent between 13 and 16%.
Okay. Well,
So I
that's
don't know
kind
if
of,
that's high. I mean, it seems high to me,
yeah.
but it all happens within 90 days. It's instantaneous out of the box. And
Okay.
the other thing that I will say that for us is a drawback is our name, right?
Okay.
So when we go in and take over a property management company, all three that we've purchased so far have all been small mom and pop stuff.
Right.
So when we come in with our name, they automatically, even though we're still smaller than some out there, we're bigger than some and smaller than others. The name throws a lot of people off, and really what they're looking for is like, who's my property manager and are they close to my house? Right.
Okay. So you feel like, or maybe you've gotten actual feedback from clients that see you as, oh, you're a bigger guy. You're not
100%.
really in my market. So I kind of was on the fence already, and now I'm going to leave.
Yep. 100%.
Okay.
And they're honest because when we have them drop out, like I will call. I'm like, hey, listen, I'm not going to try to save you. I'm not sitting here going to throw the promised world to you
Hmm.
and beg you to come stay with us. I just want to know did we do something wrong? What is it? I will say that probably 85% of the time, that's exactly what it is.
So
And
the,
on this very last one, it was actually a little bit heavier. It was a
okay.
larger drop off than what I expected. And it was
Okay.
100% because we actually weren't in that area and it was something we were trying new.
Oh, I see. So you were new to the area, so people didn't know
We're not
you.
we're not new to the area. We actually managed currently we before we went into that area, we were already managing about 30 doors out there. We just
Okay.
didn't have a heavy presence.
Right.
And so this last one we just did earlier this year that we bought, is in a town called Tehachapi. So very
Yeah.
small town in Southern California at the base of just on the other side of the mountains of Bakersfield, but it's kind of like a
Mhm.
gateway to Bakersfield. One thing we found was that like 70% of the owners of the properties of the management company that we bought actually live in the town, which was astonishing to me.
Mm.
None of our other areas are like that, right?
Okay.
The other thing all of them wanted was for us to have a local office there. Now, granted, our Palmdale office is only 40 minutes away, so it's really not that far. It's 40 minutes, 40 to 50 minutes away, just depends on traffic. So it's really not that far. And we also obviously have vendors in the area. But because we didn't have a physical office in the area and we were managing it from the Antelope Valley or from Palmdale, people were not happy.
I
They
see.
wanted they wanted somebody there that they could go see, talk, touch, feel.
Okay.
So,
So knowing that, I mean, would that change like a future strategy for a different purchase? Or is
yeah.
it just, I mean, like,
Yes.
would you do anything different in
Yeah, I
that?
think what it does is it forces my hand to, when I look into new areas, to
Hmm.
make sure that if we're going to buy, we
Hmm.
have to buy, especially when you go into smaller markets where it's mom and pop stuff, you got to buy enough doors to where you can actually staff that.
Right.
I think before we started recording, you and I were talking about one of the other property managers that I do speak with often, and we'd put on, we talk at conferences about, we both run a very remote operation.
Right.
Hers is extremely remote. Ours is somewhat remote. But again, in the bigger markets, the remote markets work really well. In the smaller markets, at least what I have found,
Right.
is the remote markets don't work
Yeah.
as well. I mean, it's not that they can't work, they just don't work as well.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I mean, in my market before I sold, so I managed in 4 counties, and the county that I live in is very similar. It's very rural. A lot of the investors actually lived here. It was like their
Mhm.
second homes, and they wanted that relationship. They wanted an actual human. They
Yeah.
wanted to know that whoever's managing the property, like, actually knew the area, lived there.
Yep.
Find them at the grocery store, whatever.
Exactly. And that's what we ran into. And I experienced that a little bit when we bought the Barstow because again, back to the 85% of the fallout, of the 12% that we lost in Barstow was because of that reason. They wanted somebody that knew the area. Now, with that being said, I still kept, when I bought the company, I kept the employees.
Okay.
The only employee I didn't keep was a broker.
I see.
So,
Okay.
but the employees stayed the same. So that helped out a little bit. So, but at the end of the day, what scared those, the big feedback we got was they wanted mom and pop. We came across as a bigger corporation,
I see.
and not everybody likes that.
Right. That makes sense. Okay. And so how many doors are you around now?
I think as of this morning, I think we're around like 1450, 1460.
All right. That's good size. That's good size. And you're actively acquiring, you're still growing out your California market. And I know you kind of mentioned you guys run remote, but I mean, how many offices do you have total in California?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay. So you have 5 offices. So you run remote, but not remote, or what? I know you
No, it's
don't.
all around. So my Santa Monica office, runs remote. Actually, I
Okay.
go 6 because Tehachapi would be 6.
Okay.
So Tehachapi is remote. Santa Monica's remote. The rest are all staffed.
Okay. Okay. And I know you don't live in California anymore. So
No, I still have my house in California, but that is more of like my hotel when I am in California.
Okay.
Not much there.
Okay. So you go to California frequently.
I'm in California about 10 days a month,
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
Between 7 and 10 days a month, I'm in California.
Okay. And then you still have local team that live and work in most of your
Yeah, as a
market.
matter of fact, my operations manager actually recently, end of last year, beginning of this year, moved out to Tennessee where I am at currently.
Okay.
He lives in Tennessee as well. My bookkeeper moved away. She's in Washington. She's up by you, actually,
Okay.
in Washington State. So, and then obviously we got remote employees, but we do have people that need boots on the ground and property managers in those areas where all the offices are. And
Right.
generally we run at least a minimum. The other thing that we have found is that with the boots on the ground in California, we run a minimum 2-person crew.
Okay.
So, because we found that's kind of what works the best, and it's
Right.
that one is scalable.
Right.
So that's
Okay. And so it sounds like you've learned a fair amount from acquiring. I mean, you're probably always learning every
you're
time.
always learning. Yeah.
You also, I know I don't want to run out of time for all the things, but so you also have a maintenance company because we didn't really talk about that. When did you start your maintenance company?
We actually started it right away. Probably within the first 3 years, we started the maintenance company because we realized running houses from A to C class, it's interesting. There's a lot of work,
Yeah.
right? And one of the things that we found when we're talking to potential owners was the reason they're leaving their property management companies is because it was always maintenance related. Always. Maintenance or communication, right?
Yep.
It was never fraud. It was never like they're a crappy property management company. I mean, in their idea of them being a crappy property management company was the maintenance side,
Yeah.
right? It was never like, oh, they're defrauding, taking my money, or they're mean to me, right? But it always fell back to maintenance and in lack of communication were the 2 main things that I always got feedback from. And to this day, we always ask, hey, why are you moving? And it's always that.
Okay.
So
And so your strategy, because you and I have talked offline a little bit, you prefer like C class management.
love it.
You love it.
Love it. Especially in
And
California.
right. Okay. And you find that, I mean, having a maintenance company side by side, that does very well for you. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Well, because in California, we can't charge ancillary fees.
Okay.
So, and I refuse. I mean, I know a lot of people do it. A lot of my competitors do it, but a lot of my competitors, they don't necessarily have a maintenance company, but they charge like say a 15% add-on to
Oh,
maintenance.
the maintenance markup. You're
I won't do it. I
anti-maintenance
just, I
markup.
mean,
What? Tell us why. I know you love to debate things, so tell us why.
no. I just feel grimy on it. It's already hard enough that we battle a perception in this business as it is. And I truly feel like you're getting paid as a property manager to manage the property. And but really 70 to 75% of your job all day long is going to be maintenance related.
Mm-hmm.
So you're really getting paid for that, right? So why would you, things are already expensive enough for owners, especially in California. A 2x4 is a 2x4. It doesn't matter what state, what city you're in. It still costs almost exactly the same whether you're in Beverly Hills or Barstow, right? Same with paint. A gallon of paint is a gallon of paint. The labor changes, obviously, but at the end of the day, it's all the same. So point is that if I'm managing C-class properties where their rent is $1,000 or $1,500 a month, or I'm managing a property in my Santa Monica office where the rent is $30,000 a month, and I got to go do a repair, the repair costs exactly the same, right? It just doesn't hurt that $30,000 a month owner like it hurts the $1,000 a month owner.
Right.
So I always felt that if I'm trying to do my best for my investors or my clients, like the last thing I want to do is tack on another 15% to their maintenance bills, right? Now, obviously, we don't have control over how people treat a house. We're at a point where we don't even we do all self showings just so that we don't even know who's putting in applications to fight, so no one can ever come back and say, he discriminated against us.
Right.
That's a whole different story in California. But
yeah.
Point is that you don't know how someone is going to be able to treat a house. I remember when I first got into this business, one of the things I would do, and this is again, early 2000s, I would go to your house and see how you kept your house. But that was
that landlord.
Yeah.
You were doing the interview. Did you also look in their car?
I don't know. Well, if I would walk past their car, right? But I'd look at the house, look at the people. And I mean, I don't know how many times I've said, we're going to get the best qualified person into the property. Right. And I do love the fact that like California has the rules they have, especially when I go into other states and see other things, because honestly, I've made some decisions where I thought, oh man, this guy's a police officer. This guy's a doctor. This guy's a fireman. And I was like, these are way better than a Section 8 tenant. Only to find out that the nastiest people I've ever had in my houses are some bad Section 8 tenants.
Sure.
But professionals, doctors,
Yep.
firemen, and police officers, especially single dudes.
Yep.
I don't know why. I'm assuming because they're never there. Maybe they like the party. I don't know. No offense to anybody that's a doctor, police officer, or a fireman. But those are by far the worst houses that we have.
Yep. Yeah. I had to evict a cop one time.
I've done a couple.
Yeah, which is kind of wild. I'm like, your buddies from the other precinct are going to show up. Anyway, that's a story for another time.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that makes sense. So does your operations manager also run your maintenance company, or how do you run that?
No, for the most part. As a matter of fact, it's funny you talk about. I like to argue. If she ever sees this podcast, she'll tell you she loves to get involved in the maintenance side.
Oh, your operations manager.
Yeah, she's an amazing person. No, by far. Everybody that knows me, if you see me at a conference, you've seen her. Everyone probably thinks half the people think we're married. But she's an amazing person. I couldn't do any of this without her. But she's such an overachiever, and such a perfectionist that I'm a very pick and choose your battles. Right?
Yeah.
And if it's going well, like if it ain't broke, let's not fix it, because the amount of employees we have now and trying to get everybody on board, anytime you make a change, is tough. And then as you grow, like if you're just an office of a few people, it's not bad. When you're an office of 20 people, 25 people, it becomes like, shit. I come back from conferences with ideas and I'm just like, I'd love to implement these, but the reality is.
Yeah. Well, the saying of the ship, right? I mean, if you have a rowboat, it's a little bit easier to turn than like a big Titanic. I mean,
correct.
Right? Same thing.
Absolutely. And so when I say that she tries to get involved, she does. She's always pointing out what's wrong, what we need to do to fix it. And then my battle comes in is because I kind of run the the maintenance side. That's kind of my baby.
That's kind of your baby.
It's kind of my baby.
You're still in like day to day. You're not
having a day to day. I really enjoy the maintenance side. Okay. When I am in California, I actually enjoy to get out there. I'm kind of handy, a little bit handy, not great. I could put like a smoke detector on and change an air filter and a few things like that.
Cool.
But I understand, because I come from a building background. I understand everything about a house. I understand plumbing, electrical. I know everything there is to know about a house. So when something goes wrong, I know ways to fix it. I know ways around it. So that's kind of why maintenance is, for me, it's very fun. When I am in town, I do like to go with my guys and even by myself. I'll pick up a couple work orders if they're small, right? I'll pick up some work orders and just go knock them out. What I really like about it is it allows me to get eyes on a house. It
Yeah.
allows me to interact with my tenants. I love interacting with my owners and my tenants, specifically my tenants, because they're always fun. And I think that, like, I always want to hear their side of, like, hey, how do you like living here? Right? Doesn't matter where their house is. I just want to know. I want to know what the positives and negatives are so that I can take it back to the team and say, hey, I was over at so-and-so's house. Or when I get to the house, I'll call my office. And like I was just in California a couple weeks ago, and I go to a house to what I'm thinking I'm changing the sink faucet, only to find out I wasn't changing that sink faucet. They have 3 goats in the backyard, and this is like a tract home.
Oh,
3 goats.
is it in an HOA?
No, we don't have a lot of HOAs in where
Okay.
I'm there.
Okay.
But regardless, it's still in a tract, and there's 3 goats, right? And I'm just thinking to myself, like, how does my team not know that there's 3 goats back here? So of course I leave and call, and the tenant never knew who I was. She just thought I was some maintenance dude, right?
Right.
And
Right.
I'll call my office, and I'm like, hey, when was the last time you guys were at this house? Because we're supposed to be doing yearly checkups, and these are goats. These ain't like like we brought them home. Yeah, well, you're not hiding them, and they're in a cage. And I mean, it's not a big backyard
Right.
by any stretch. And so, of course, like, I kind of jump in my property manager and start questioning her, like, when was the last time you guys were there? You need to go post a notice because there's goats at this house. And there's a few other things that I want to make sure that it's not broken mirrors. And I guarantee you I know we didn't rent the house with broken mirrors.
Right.
A few other things that I noticed, but that's what I do love, right?
Okay. So what I'm hearing overall is like you enjoy, I mean, it really is a huge benefit to your clients and, well, maybe not your residents who are bringing home goats, but to your clients, especially where you guys do in-house maintenance. So you can make sure you're getting in there and your team's probably pretty well trained on what to do. Because even if you hadn't happened upon that, I'm assuming your maintenance guys would have
Correct.
alerted your team, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
my maintenance guys would have definitely called in. And the other good thing about the maintenance side is we keep everything's fully disclosed. Our price per hour is fully disclosed. It is what it is. We don't do a markup on materials. So whatever the material cost, what it is, we make our money in there. But it's strictly off the hourly. We don't make our money on top of material costs. So
Okay. Well, yeah. So it sounds like you've built a pretty good business. You're still working on acquiring. And I know before we end this, I'd love to kind of talk a little bit more about maybe what you presented at PM Systems. So you were at PM Systems in January. I know I got to sit in on your presentation. I actually had my, well, now 20-year-old with me, and he was actually engaged. I think he even asked you a question afterwards, which
yeah.
is always amazing when the kids actually listen. Because you run your offices, well, a little bit different, I think, than probably the average PMC owner. You a lot about mindset and health. So if you'd like to share with everyone kind of like
Yeah,
what
no, absolutely. So every year, one of the things I do every year is we give a gift to my employees. Every year, my gift is health and fitness related. Now, does that mean they're going to go do it? No. But I encourage them. We've also offered gym memberships, things of that nature. But we give them things such as bands. I mean, I give them this last year, I gave them entire gym bags with everything in it, from a towel to bands to gloves, water bottles, shaker cups, things of that nature. When we do buy food for the offices, it's always healthy food. I encourage them to, every time they eat, take a walk, 10 minutes, right? If they don't want to go out and walk because it's too hot or the weather's crappy, guess what? They all have. Every single person in the office has a set of bands. So do some bands, do some calisthenics, sit in your chair, do some arm stuff, right? Just to kind of keep your body to move. Because I'll say this, one of the things I was talking about in systems was just the health and fitness of not only you as the broker, but your employees, right? I mean, one of the things we battle is if your employees get sick and they're a key employee, what happens? I mean, then you're left doing all the work. Not that everyone's not entitled to their sick time, because we all get sick no matter how healthy we are. And not that everyone's not entitled to their vacation time, but when it's planned, for the most part, you can work around it. When it's unplanned, it kind of came from the fact that a few years back, I'm personally into health and fitness a lot due to some health challenges that I've personally had. And then I've started to see 2 of my employees, one of them had a stroke during COVID. And I learned right away, it was a key employee, right? And I learned right away, like, wow, what do I do? Because we had to scramble. We didn't have a 2-day notice. We literally had a phone call. So-and-so had a stroke and she may not ever come back. So I'm like, but in the state of California, I can't fire her because she went on a medical leave. So I got to keep this position open. I'm a small company. When it's said and done, right? Property
Right.
management, we don't run on a huge margins, especially not in California where you have no ancillary fees. And I got to hire another property manager to take her place for whatever time frame she is gone, because she's allotted a long time in the state of California where I have to give her back her job. Thankfully, she's made a full recovery. Her replacement, we did wind up moving her replacement on. But when you're looking for somebody to come and take over as a property manager, first of all, it's very difficult to find a quality property manager. Second of all, it's even more difficult to hire somebody and then know that you're probably going to have to let them go at some point if that employee does come back.
Right.
Just the rules. It's just the rules of the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Either that or you've hoped to acquire enough doors, in which in our case, it's about 100 and I think right now it's about 118 or 119 doors that a property manager has to have underneath them just to absolute break even on just their
Okay.
payroll.
Okay.
To give you an idea, I mean, our property managers make well above $70,000 a year plus full benefits
Right.
minimum and a car. So when you take everything into consideration, car, gas, medical benefits, and then
Right.
401k, they're well into the six figures.
Right.
Right.
So have you had any success stories, like any of your employees? Like,
Yeah, no, actually I have. I'll ask for permission to share, but one of my employees, when I was in California, she just told me she was down 30 pounds this year so far.
wow.
And another one of my employees, who's actually he's my maintenance coordinator. Last year, well, at the beginning of the year, he asked to come for some help, put him on a program.
Okay.
And he went from, I want to say it was like, actually, I can look at it real quick because I want to give you the actual facts. He just did a nice Facebook post of before and after, 4 photos, and is where he started, part of his journey, and where he's at right now. I think he said he lost like 42 pounds, and I was kind of trying to get the exact number, but I want to say it was like 42 pounds. Yeah, and he's 50 years old. So all my employees are older than me. I have one employee,
Okay.
2 employees that are younger than me.
Okay.
But for the most part, all my employees are older. So one of the things is he took the program that we put him on. He asked for it. It wasn't nothing that, I let all my employees know, hey, I'm here if you want help. If you don't, I'm not going to shove it down your throat. However, I am going to give you guys all the tools you need, right? I'm going to offer you the tools that you need. If you want to take advantage of it, take advantage of it. I encourage it, but you don't have to.
Right.
So, but yeah, he's shredded to the bone. He's down to, I think, like 180, 185, and he's 6'2", 6'3". He took a really good picture of like his shirt off, and it was impressive. I was
Yeah.
actually like, whoa, dude, you
Yeah.
did a great job, right? And it's things like that that just really helps me and encourages me to keep going in the direction I want to go. Because there are times like there's days where I'm like, I'm just gonna sell my company and I'm done with this, right? And we all
Right.
have those days, especially as property managers,
Yeah.
where we just get tired or something happens, and it's just we reflect on, is it really worth it? But then when I see my employees taking advantage of just not only changing their lives from a financial aspect, but also changing their lives from a health and fitness aspect. Like, in my opinion, I think as a boss or as a team member or a leader, like that's what it's about.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. That's cool. I
yeah.
think we need to talk more about that in the industry. Maybe you can get on some stages and
Yeah,
chat.
and it's hard because a lot of people don't want to face the fact, right? Our biggest enemy is ourselves. We look in the mirror, and that's the one that lies to us the most. And we all have these huge, lofty goals. And another thing, like you and I talked about, is I actually have to make my goals every 8 hours. So I have 3 goals a day,
3 goals
right?
a day. Okay.
It's the only way for someone like me who I don't have to win all of them, but I do want to win a majority of them. So in other words, I want to win 2 goals every single day. If I lose 1 goal, I'm still batting 600, 700, right?
Yeah.
And I'm still winning. I'm still above. And so I think that like a lot of times as just individuals and humans, we just create these big goals and we put them out long enough that we can make excuses every single day and think that we're going to have time to reach those goals. But the reality is we actually never ever reach those goals. But if we
Yeah.
make, it's like taking small bites out of a big bowl, right?
Yeah. No, I like that. Yeah. 3 goals a day. That's very attainable. Because you're right. A lot of people will do their yearly goal. I even say break it down by quarter or month, but
But I do
yeah.
it all the time.
Yeah.
And I try to I explain it even when I'm coaching people. It's like, no, break down every 8 hours. And sometimes, depending on what you're trying to do, if it's an 8 hour workday, if you're talking to an employee and having them break it down to 8 hours, no, we're going to break it down every 15 minutes. One of my buddies, Steve Rosenberg, well, I was at one of his classes years ago, and one of the things that I got from him was once a year, analyze every single employee, break them down every 15 minutes as to like what they're doing to help figure out their time management, right?
Uh-huh.
And if you
Okay.
do that for 5 days in a row, you will see where you can gain them time back, right? Because ultimately, we all have the same 24 hours in a day.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's
So like a
within
time
those,
study.
yeah, it's within those 8 hours that you're working that you want to get the most out of your employees, and you want the employees to get the most out of their work, right? So they're not feeling like they're drowning all the time. And so I've kind of picked that up, and it's been a very useful tool to find out, even for myself. Like my phone, and I think probably all of our phones nowadays, my phone every week gives me a weekly update. It's like, you spent 1 hour and 10 minutes longer this week than you did last week. And this is
Yeah.
what you spent your time on. And it's all social media, right? And you're like,
Yeah. Yeah. I like to ignore those messages.
yeah, exactly, exactly. It's like the honest truth, right?
Yeah.
And nobody wants to really, look back and be like, damn it, I spent 14 hours this week on Instagram or Facebook or,
Right.
chat.
I was doing my marketing. There goes the excuse, right?
Exactly.
Human excuse.
Exactly.
Okay,
So
cool. Yeah, no, I like that. That's cool. Well, before we wrap up, do you have any quick words of advice for anybody that's looking to buy a PMC? Just maybe a quick
I
rapid fire.
think the advice I would have is follow your dreams, follow your gut,
Mm-hmm.
but also be very cognizant as to like where you're buying and what you're buying.
Yeah.
As somebody that takes on challenges in life, they've cost me a little bit, but I've kept them long enough that it's rewarded me back. But sometimes they do cost you. They
Yeah.
cost you because you do get a little bit like, I'm gonna do this, but I didn't follow through everything that I knew I should have done because I was more concerned with getting the deal closed. And I was excited. Sometimes that excitement
Can
drives you
cloud,
to make bad decisions.
cloud the
And so
judgment. Cool.
that'd be my only advice is just know what you're buying and where.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good advice. All right. Well, thanks for coming on the show. Really appreciated it. Thanks for sharing everything. We'll put all your contact info in the show notes, but I know you also do coaching. Is that
Yep.
correct?
hmm
Coaching, speaking. So,
Speaking. Yeah.
so if you would like to work with Kevin or want him to speak on your stage, his
Yeah,
contact info
give me a
will be in
call.
the notes. All right.
All
Well,
right. Thank you, Stacey.
All right. See ya.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Stacey Salyer Show. Here's the deal. You can read about acquisitions anywhere, but you can't learn acquisitions from someone who's done it the way I have. As a buyer, a seller, and from the corporate side, evaluating hundreds of companies. That's why I need you to subscribe and share this with someone in your network who needs to hear it. And if this episode landed, leave a 5-star review. It's how more PM owners find the only acquisition expertise in the space that comes from all sides of the table. And while you're at it, grab my acquisition readiness checklist on my website at staceysalyer.com. Then, when you're ready to move from growth thinking to growth building, explore the Built to Acquire program. Don't leave it on the table. See you on the next episode.